Hello, my name is Todd Butterworth, and I have your student for Algebra 2 Remote. Here we're going to go through a just an explanation of what the course looks like and grading and all that stuff. So the class structure, the overall structure, we meet twice a week live for 45 minutes, and they then have 45 minutes to do their remote work. They can also receive extra help during that time. It was 90 minutes once a week, but since we had such a small class, I combined the cohorts so that we meet twice a week for 45 minutes, and then they have the 45 minutes of remote time. As I said, during that time, they are welcome to stay with me for extra help at any time. And I've worked with one or two of your students so far in that way. So for the remote time, the students will be working through 1 to 2 videos that Mr. Carlson and I, who's another math teacher, do that. They'll replace kind of what we would normally do during class. It says lecture time. I don't usually lecture during class. Really, I don't lecture during class. It would be a discussion. And so Mr. Carlson and I are kind of trying to recreate that class experience in the videos. We're doing it that way so that the students can kind of process that information, and then they can come to the next class with some idea of what we want to do with that information. So students will also have some other type of assignment related to the videos. So it might be in the workbook, it might be an assignment in what's called Mathia, it might be a quiz or a review for a quiz, that sort of thing. For the in-person time, this is my goal. I'm not fully there yet because how this year has started has been a little crazy, but we're getting there. So we'll start with a warm-up of playing around with Desmos, which is a graphing calculator that we'll be using quite heavily in class. Basically, that's going to allow us to do a lot of interesting things without getting too bogged down in some of the algebraic steps that we would normally spend a lot of time on, but we just don't have the time for this year. We'll do a quick review of the remote work. So whatever they did, we'll do kind of a recap of like, these are the big things you should have learned in that remote time, and go over any questions they have and that sort of thing. And then maybe some 20 to 30 minutes. It says 20 to 30 minutes. It just depends on which kind of chunk it is of Mathia, which is a self-paced math program where I can check in with them. They'll be working at their own pace. It will kind of work with them and grow with them. And I can put them in breakout rooms and go visit them and talk to them about what they're doing and check in with them and see how things are going. And there may also be an activity related to whatever we're currently working on, which could be an activity through Desmos or some other activity. We also will have quizzes, which I will explain in a little bit. Sometimes those will be in person, and sometimes that will be just during the remote time. It just depends on kind of how things will work. My biggest suggestion for your students is they need to communicate with me more. There's a lot of silence during class and a lot of blank screens. It's okay if their screens are blank. I understand some of us don't want to show our pictures on Zoom and because that's uncomfortable, but I need more conversation with them. I sometimes feel like I'm shouting into the void, much like right now, where I'm shouting into the void and who knows if anyone is listening to me. So if they can kind of work on that in some way, that would be awesome, and I think we can have some really good discussions. It's not a big class. There's only 12 kids in the class right now. So my hope is I can get them to be comfortable with each other so that as the year goes on, the conversations will increase. If they don't want to show their pictures, that's okay. I got to be honest with you though, some of your students, I have no idea what they look like. I also don't always know if they are there. So it's nice to have their pictures up, but I understand sometimes they don't want to. In terms of grading, so spirals, which I'll talk about in the next slide, those are just quizzes. Remote work, so they have to watch the videos. Within the videos, there are questions, and they should answer those questions. Obviously, do the best they can on those questions. If they struggle on those, they're welcome to bring those questions to class and ask about them. And then any other assignments that we have for them. There are journals. So I've been doing journals. I've been teaching for 17 years, and I think this is my 9th year at Danvers. And I've been doing journals every year. And I know it sounds a little weird to be doing journals in a math class, but I do the journals as a way to communicate with the students. And so for many of your students, they're not communicating with me right now in class. And so journals will provide a way for them to communicate with me without actually having a conversation, a verbal conversation. So I'll have a written conversation back and forth. And that's fine. Obviously, I would prefer both, that they talk to me in class and they talk to me through their journal. But I can kind of make things work, meet them where they are. And then there'll also be some in-person work that will be part of their grade. Now, the spirals are a little bit different. So generally speaking, The students will be graded on each separate topic twice on the quiz. So generally speaking, there are two sections of the quiz. Might be three every once in a while, but generally speaking, there are two sections of the quiz. There's one section that's new, and there's one section that's kind of a repeat of the last section. So the reason we repeat it is because we want to see that your student grows and learns. So if they struggled the first time they saw the content on the quiz, I want to see them do better the second time they see the content. If they do better, I'll change their previous score. So if they do really poorly the first time, I'm not that upset about it. I want them to talk to me and figure out what they did wrong and learn from their mistakes so that the next time they can do better and the score will literally get changed in PowerSchool. Now, on the rare occurrence that your student score goes down, so maybe they got a perfect score the first time and then they made some silly mistake the second time and they did not get a perfect score the second time, I do not lower their score. It's only to help them. But I want them to kind of grow over time. They should communicate with me if they're confused and ask questions and make sure they're understanding. I'm happy to go over their quiz with them, give them suggestions on kind of what they did well, what they didn't do well, that sort of thing. The quizzes will be roughly 2 weeks apart. And then I mentioned the improvement already, and they can use any resources they want. So in addition to the quizzes, I create a review for those quizzes and I do a video of those reviews. And the students can use those reviews and those videos of me doing the reviews to help them on the actual quiz. That's okay. They can use Desmos to help them on the quiz. They can use their notes. That's fine. We just don't want them talking to each other, but they can use any of those other resources. And if they have questions about that, I'm happy to clarify. If you have questions, I'm happy to clarify. Speaking of questions, feel free to email me at toddbutterworth@danvers.org if you do have questions. And I will try to get back to you as quickly as possible. We are getting lots of emails, so if it takes me a day or two, please forgive me, but I will do my best to return your email. If I don't get back to you in a day or two, feel free to ask your student to talk to me about it, or simply ask your student to let me know that you sent an email. Sometimes those emails do go to spam, and so I may miss them. As I said, if you have questions, feel free to email me, toddbutterworth@danvers.org. I appreciate you taking some time to learn about our class.